every conversation to be active in also driving the movement for liberation of this country. You must, as a matter of urgency, become what students used to be in this country. As we are here today, we are suffering more than environmental problems. There's a currency crisis afflicting the country. There is a major fuel problem afflicting the country. And our role in our party, the African Action Congress, is not only to address environmental problems, it's also to phase out the major political parties in Nigeria that are creating environmental problems, particularly the APC and the PDP and the overflow parties. That is our goal. Yes, before I address your question, I want to apologize on behalf of those political parties and their presidential candidates who don't even understand the environment. They don't understand climate change. The other one said that climate change has something to do with Holy Communion. Yes. There's another one who said that he wants to go and ask at home the meaning of climate change. That is the kind of country you are in. And we hope that you find it in your heart to ensure that you elect the right people to govern this country. People who can interact at least with students. And I feel at home in your midst because, as you all are aware, I was a student union president of the University of Lagos Student Union. When student union was a student union government, not now that it has become a social club. That's a conversation for another thing in the future. So with regards to environment, I think our professor who opened this gathering was speaking to the ignorance of environmental issues in Nigeria. When you talk about environment in Nigeria, most people think is environmental sanitation. Most people think that when you talk about the environment, you are talking about how to clean your house or grow certain kind of food. They don't understand that environment is the nexus with existence completely. As of yesterday, Turkey had a major earthquake that has killed over 3,000 people. Turkey. Nigeria this year has had a major flood that has killed over 600 people. Although part of the problem of that flood has to do with the responsibility of our leaders. There is a dam in Cameroon. It's called, a lake in Cameroon. They have a dam in Cameroon. In the 80s, when they were damming their own side of it, they called the Nigerian government to come and dam their own side so they can use it to generate electricity. Our leaders did nothing about it. Whenever Cameroon has an overflow on that dam, they open it and it floods down Nigeria. That's where most of the flooding is coming from. But one thing we must not fail to understand regarding your question is that our lifestyles, if properly done, cannot harm environments. Why? If you grew up in the olden days, not even olden days, every village has a sacred forest that you cannot go into. They are not trying to scare kids. It's their own way of protecting their own environment. Why is it that my grandmother lived for 107 years? She just died this year. Yes, because she was eating fresh food. She's not eating the junk all of us are eating today, like our environmental guru, Nimo Bassett, stated earlier when he was speaking. A lot of us don't even know what we are eating. The chicken that you are eating, you don't know where it came from. Who made it? The akara you are eating, you don't know what it's fried with. The fufu you are eating, each time you eat fufu in this Abuja, you will have to go back to bed first because it has ruined your capacity to function. It is because there's too much chemicals in it. But most importantly, our environment in the Niger Delta region has become a source of cost to this country. And that's why I cannot do without mentioning how most of us came into understanding the environment. It was Ken Saro-Wiwa who stood up in Ogoni land and stood up not only to our Nigerian leaders, but the international oil companies and challenged them that they are destroying the Niger Delta region. Most of us did not know that the Niger Delta region is not only being destroyed, but their own activities are destroying the ozone layer above our head. As I'm standing in front of you, with respect to our other presidential candidates, I'm the only geographer in their midst. This man is a lawyer. They don't care about the environment too much. This man here is a politician. They don't care about the environment. They are the ones sharing their own money. And my friend here is a businessman. You understand? They care about the environment only to the extent that they get the 13% derivation fund. Well, as a presidential candidate, on a serious note, who is a geographer, we have a comprehensive way to deal with the environmental crisis facing us. And we will expatiate on it later. But one of it is to generate sustainable living in the country. It starts with electricity. We are going to jettison the use of fossil fuel in this country. Anybody who is still relying on crude, I'm sorry for you. One day you'll be drinking your crude. So I don't have any congratulations to give to those people in Bauchi where they claim to have found oil. You are going to become the next Niger Delta region, where there will be pollution, destruction of the ecosystem, and destabilization of your environment. And I must say finally that oil resources is the biggest source of crime in the world. The biggest criminals are those who drill oil, because they don't only kill people, they also kill the environment. Thank you very much.
People have to keep the time now, 3 minutes per candidate, so everyone can talk, and have a particular question to ask, and the audience will also have that. I will hear you now. The question is, to tell Nigerians your vision and your plans for ensuring that they have an environment that is healthy, and by that you're telling us your plans and how you intend to achieve them.
Thank you very much. Distinguished academia, greatest Nigerian students, I thank you for the honor of having me in your midst. My dear, how you bring elections. Someone spoke for 25 minutes and now you tell me I have 3 minutes. If you want to leave for sure, it's okay. It seems that we have two invitations for this program today. I have two invitations. One invitation is asking me to come here to speak generally about my plans for Nigeria. And I received another invitation a few days ago from SOWORE here about the environment. So when I was driving here today, I asked, what are we coming here for? Is it that it had the same venue? This auditorium, I said, what are we coming here for? And I see that they have merged the program together. But still for it is about the environment. Let me get into this quickly. If I was to ask most of you here about your understanding of the environment and environmental issues, we will hear different things. Even have a real understanding of what the environment of these issues are. And this is because science has mostly gotten it wrong. Several decades ago, we were told that fats contributed mainly to heart attacks, diabetes, bad health, and what have you. Science told us there are good fats and there are bad fats. Fats are not necessarily so bad anymore. But if you imagine the billions of drugs sold to people, not a lot of drugs, the ad campaign that everything they did to sell a notion that fats were bad. And today, anyway, talk about health, what they tell you is that fat is a clean energy source. Move away from carbs, sugars, and consume fats, and that's a better energy source. So I want to frame the climate or the environmental debate like this. You have the science that says pollution our modern way of life, that they are destroying our environment. And you have nations that say, no, that's not true. We don't subscribe to that argument, because there's a fight about technology, new science, and that people use knowledge to advance their economies. So people don't subscribe to a lot of these arguments because of what they stand to gain. Then when you look at countries like our country, Africa, Nigeria, our country, someone now tells you that an oil-producing nation who stands to gain a lot from selling oil to the rest of the world, that you need to look at other sources of energy now, that oil is no longer very good or the cleanest source of energy. Where does that leave countries like Nigeria? Remember, the man or the nation telling you this, they have decades of research. They are decades ahead of you in researching new energy. Is domiciled within their nations. So they have huge economic benefits if we were to move to renewable or new energy. And so when they tell us that we need to see how this impacts us, there are people who argue, who doubt. So the jury is still out. Do we believe what science is telling us, especially in light of what we see happening all over the world, increased earthquakes, floods, what's new, temperatures, or do we take it as acts of God and say we should stick to our old habits? What's my take? I believe that there should be a balance of the two. And guess what? Take COVID in the last couple of years. Do you remember what science said to us? Today, wash your hands. 1 mask, 2 masks, social distancing, and what will be right? And everyday science was changing. Eventually, we found out that there was money behind science and that there were people benefiting commercially from whatever science was saying. As I speak to you today, I want to tell you guys a secret. I have had COVID officially 12 times as of 2 weeks ago. What I say officially, it means the time I have tested and I had a positive result. Not to talk of the other times that I didn't test and I might have been positive. The last time I tested positive was about 2.5 weeks ago. So and I dare say that 70% of the young population didn't take vaccination because they did not believe science. Does this mean that science is wrong? Absolutely not. What this means is that whilst we have advantage of information, we must protect our way of life. We must protect our communities. We must ensure that what we do with a modern means of living does not destroy our environment. We use plastic cups now. We use what they call this sachet water. We dump them on the streets, in our gutters, in our streets, aqua light. Like SOWORE mentioned here, what happened with the lights here? What are you hearing? The go, that generator there. If you know what that generator is doing, those fuels are doing to our environment. Imagine a nation like Nigeria that you hardly have light and most people depend on generators. Imagine what we are doing to this environment every blessed day. Nobody seems to care. In fact, if we didn't have foreign organizations who invest money to see how this affects us here in Nigeria, our government is more interested in mining oil, gold, and other natural resources than checking to see how their actions impact you and I. What will I do if I were the president of Nigeria? I will fund more research to see how science does really affect us. I don't want to rely on research from other nations who might have commercial inclinations as to why they are doing what they are doing. I want my scientists. We have some of the best scientists in their reports. I want to know what they're saying, just as affects us locally. I want to be able to dredge our rivers more so that these floods, these perennial floods, don't continue to destroy our people. I want to ensure that our people who live in the lowlands, bring them to the uplands, so that those floods that take those ones who are so close to the floods don't continue to destroy them. A few months ago, I was in Lokoja for a Townhall. Now, as I was driving into Lokoja, I saw what that flood did to poor people there. It's one thing to hear, it's another thing to see on the television. There's no official report, reason why we have those rebels in Abuja. If we have those rebels in Abuja, who says Abuja cannot be Turkey tomorrow? That's why we need our scientists to do more research. That's why we need to change our way of life. What we are doing what we eat, what we wear, how we commute, our environment. In understanding this, we need to localize this to our local conditions. But our people, finally, government owes it to the people to ensure that they are well informed. Information is key to everything. So that when we come into an environment like this, and we're speaking about the environment, environmental degradation, most people here should be able to understand the impact, have a say, have a point of view. Because I tell you, if I were to walk into any university in America and Europe, they have debates all day long on climate change and all the factors around it. We need to educate our people more. Thank you very much.
You are taking more time than I wanted you, so you're also doing it.
I tried to do this.
Okay, so for the two remaining candidates, please, people, you will spend your time to have a so we have equal and fair opportunity, fairness and justice. But after that, please, we will have to be very, very religious about time.
channel, please. The presidential campaign organization of the in fact of party. Coming up from the Faculty of Social Sciences and the Department of Political Science. When I was in the university, we used to say that there's only one faculty in the university, Faculty of Social Sciences and Arts. And you can see the Faculty of Social Sciences and the Department of Political Science are the movers and shakers. You can bring the social and the sphere, and you can be sure. Francis Ramon Support also is elected and sworn on 29th of May 2023. Just a month from now, we are going to adapt this university our aids for operation for all our activities, inshallah. So, this is going to be the incubator of ideas for all of them to be and cherish it. Of course, my students are not for you. It's somewhere that he was a student leader, and I've been a student leader. There are several, because I'm a student, I was a student leader, that's why I went for political science right from the beginning. Now, I want to make a better statement of who I am first, so that people will understand us before I come to the cases of Mr. Kurani Musa Koko. So they're looking at extensive change on this environment. And the secretary of the campaign council is going to now distribute it later on the either on the copy as appropriate. But everybody is going to get a copy of this. Can you need to have? Now, let me take us back. Way back in the early 80s, the debate in political science was shifting. Most of us in Bayero University come at ABU's area who are uncomfortable with the traditional political science. When we go structural functional theories, system theories, developmental theories, all kind of theories. Came to the conclusion that if there must be stability, political stability in Nigeria, you must look do my master's in ABU's area 1983 to 1985, and I focused attention on agriculture. And when I went to do my PhD in UK, at the University of Reading, because there's always faction now. When you say you are somewhere, somebody will do faction for you. University of Reading, I also did political economy, also did agriculture. Let me tell us here today. And when I was writing my PhD program, I took the political economy of agriculture in Nigeria and focused on the World Bank operation in this country. At that time, let me tell you, nobody was talking about environmental issues in the world at that time. They were interested. All those groups, organizations, associations led by the Greenpeace, when they talk about environment, the major corporations were against them. That is because any attempt to endorse the issue of environment at that time would increase their cost of production, either domestically or outside. So therefore, at that time, it used to be associated with the debate, this argument, with the campaign for clean environment was an offense. So we are happy today, the entire world has got this idea, and today we are here to debate the issue of environment in this country. Secondly, as part of the research, one of the work we did there, There's a point that was raised by my friend in the car there, who openly said that actually the practices of what we have been doing in agriculture, in water systems, managing of our cities, managing of our land, everything exposed African countries, including of Nigeria, to the hazards of environment. And we have been doing that for a long time. And there are only two places I want to mention from what I found in my research. You said only the issue of fertilizers. Do you know, as we are standing here today, we don't have a fertilizer company in this country today producing fertilizer for Nigerian farmers. Yes, there are a few coming up. Some of them are both fertilizer blending plants. Now, how on earth a country which is a agrarian country like Nigeria, and you do not have giant fertilizer companies that can produce for the specific sensitivity of Nigerian soil? It is an issue we are still waiting today.
Thank you.
And I know for sure when President Musa take over, he is going to address the issue of fertilizers as one of the critical elements of managing the environment in this country. Today, there are many places in Nigeria you don't apply foreign fertilizer, they cannot produce anything because everything has been conditioned over the past 40 years. Well, not 50 years, but from 74 to 75. We also know that the application of land now from fertilizer, chemicals, pesticides, which have been banned in Europe, have been applied in Nigeria today in Africa. Those of you who are placed in agriculture, in fact, by the time I finish my PhD, the sensitivity so much so that when you go to some of these graduate food stores like Tesco, you may end up taking sites where they have organic products. What means is that vegetables that are produced through natural traditional agriculture. Not the one by chemicals are eating cheap. So what we are saying here is evolution of the debate about the environment. And I believe as we begin to make what our government is doing under NPP, students of computer science, not geographers like you, because you have responsibility to investigate, to interrogate this debate about this environmental debate now. Because now I know that we have suffered a lot. In fact, one of the research I did, we found that, for example, even the issue of chicken and egg that we eat is so innocent. The egg that we eat. I did a research for found that there is a product called selenium. I don't know. I just want to get to know. That is usually added to the beets for growing and making them grow. Selenium. But those who are also growing layers also apply them because they make the egg bigger and bigger. And it was also found out that if they are adding selenium to any product, the test of cancer can also come in. And then at the moment we are now talking, I'm not too sure people are bothered about the implication of packaging to producers. He mentioned the issue of chickens, but even the innocent egg. So what is happening here is that before we come to the fundamentals of how we manage our water, manage our cities, manage our environment, fundamentally over the years we have learned the journey. So we are now starting, but it is not too late. It is now already time for us to do research that he is saying. But we in NFP are planning research. We are not further on what the is going is good to go because how to deal with these environmental factors because it was a governor in Kano State, one of the largest in Nigeria, before the local government number, the high number of local government, and it is everything to contain the kind of issues that government can confront our country. So please, let me say that for now, I'm not just a political scientist, like SOWORE is saying, I am an environmental man by excellence. We are also in a party that is environmentally sensitive. We are also led by a presidential candidate that is with the environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time, sir. All right, so let's hear you now, the Social Democratic Party.
Thank you very much. I was associated myself with all the recommendations given upon the University of Abuja for doing what a university should do. You know, Nigeria now, we are limited to praising people for doing their job. Because others are not doing it. But ideally, this should be very normal in the university setting. So I thank you for the opportunity. There are several things that I would want us to pay attention to in these opening statements from the Social Democratic Party. First is that we cannot be discussing the environment as a second person. We are part of the environment. The environment includes us. I'm sure you'll be hearing my voice as I'm exhaling, and I'm inhaling oxygen and exhaling carbon dioxide. So without that, I will not be alive for a few minutes. We ourselves, we take our body sample and everything, we're part of the environment. So what you find in any tissue in my hair is essentially what we find inside the sun. So we are the environment ourselves. So we are not doing the environment a favor when we talk about the environment. We are part of the environment. As far as the environment is concerned, we are small like the rock, like the goat, like the leaf, like anything in the environment. So we need to understand that. And that is the Afrocentric way, the way our ancestors. That's why when Westerners came, and also the Islamic tradition, they were calling them animists. Because their religion, their attitude, their way of life, the culture is around the environment. They saw themselves as part of the environment. So that is what we'll go back to. Second point is that the Social Democratic Party is the only political party that is running on the basis of Chapter 2 of the Constitution. Our manifesto, which you can find online, that I was linked with the organizers here, deals with the environment from the foundation laid in Chapter 2 of the Constitution. Fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy. And I'm happy that Mr. Bassi, who is known as the closest member of the SDP, or what I'm hearing now, was reading from Section 20 of the Constitution, which is part of Chapter 2, which deals with the privacy of the environment and of the environment. The third point I will make is that our government, the way we are set it up, is a risk to the environment. The government will be having Nigeria. It's a government that will be promoting poverty, perpetuating poverty. And when we make people poor, they can only fall back to the environment. Poverty is the only nexus connecting our people in Nigeria with environmental degradation. Because people have to go and get firewood. People have to go and dig boreholes, which will have seismic implications. People live off the land, and all the advantages that science, technology, engineering, and mathematics have not been able to translate in a better living condition for Nigerians. So to tell a hungry person that is worried about the environment is an insult. To tell a person who has no access to clean water to be conscious of the environment is an insult. So we need to make sure
that we set up a government that can bring our people to live sustainably in the environment. Based on that sustainable environment, they will care for the environment. And we see some NGOs, because they are collecting a lot of money from international organizations, and they are coming with serious ideas. One of the ones I see these days that makes me really want to laugh, and not to laugh at the same time, is the rest of Hollywood people, and they go on TV and say, don't use bushmeat, preserve the environment, don't kill animals in the bush. I'm looking at how do people get their protein? You tell the man who lives in the forest in Zubelu, and he sees the bush rats walking around. You will now remember the environment and let the bush rats go. Then you go home and eat in the environment. So it makes no sense. So what we should do is to make sure that we owe ourselves the duty to form a government that is in consonance with the fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy. We must form a government that prioritizes the welfare of Nigerians. A government that uses all the resources of the country primarily for the welfare and safety of Nigerians. A government that is responsible to Nigerians and accountable to Nigerians. A government that educates Nigerians so that we have a sound understanding of who we are. There are only two environments. The natural environment, which is the earth on which we are rotating around the sun with earth. Our body is coming from there, it's going back there, everything which we call the ecology, the ecosystem. That's our natural environment. The second environment we have is the social environment. The anthropomorphic part of the environment. The society we create, the institutions we build, the beliefs that we have. After these two environments, there's another environment there. Both natural environments in chapter 20 of the Constitution, and the rest of it, this will be social environment that will create ourselves, our system of government, our system of education. So we need a government that has that philosophical grounding, you understand? The third thing, and the fourth thing I would say, is that Nigeria is part of the global community. And as part of the global community, especially with leaders that have itchy fingers, can sign any document brought before them, including they have to give away capacity, they sign anything. Because they want to please, they want to be photographed with white people. So they sign anything without much thought given to. We have signed certain agreements, and we are also being educated. Our university are receiving funding, our institutions are receiving funding from institutions all over the world. Some bilateral, some multilateral. But when we are engaging internationally for the environment, in our government, there are four topics we are going to bring into. One is environmental science. We must be at par with the best of the best in the world regarding environmental science. Because the knowledge of the environment, certification is important for you to be a global citizen. Second is environmental justice. There are many remedies to the environment. Many countries of the world are not taking those remedies that will hurt their economy. They shift the burden on the other side. And the component of environmental justice is environmental history. If you look at the anthropomorphic, that is human constitution aspect of the environment, when it comes to global warming, ozone layer depletion, killing of biodiversity, they are concomitant with the rise of the industrial revolution in the 19th century. And the industrial revolution came from Europe. The spillover of which we find North America. And Latin America as well. We didn't have any contribution to those. Mitigation is possible. Those who see the pollution would have to pay more. And there are two ways in which they can pay. One is that in the adaptation of technology that requires giving away some of the developmental opportunities that we have, we need to be compensated for it because we didn't cause these problems. The second one is that our land in Africa, including Nigeria, is a very good place to help the world. The forest in Cross River all the way to Benin, that cultural forest that we have, can be a place where, with sufficient investment in reforestation, the world can have a better supply of oxygen. We also have the green belt, which we need to build in our desertification zone, in the middle belt and the part of the north. So that should be paid for by those with pollution. Then, I've spent this time here, so okay, so now the next stage, the discussion as an opportunity. So it is not that there's always a trade-off, negative trade-off. Each time you comply with the environmental standard, the economy goes down. No. I survive on green technology, to get my house, my business, my law firm, to build on solar technology for many years. And I haven't lost anything in the process. If you go to my house, you will see everything that drives has a solar component on it. So it can be done. Second, for environment, we have a lot of wind, so we can exploit that. What I would want us to do is to become a dumping ground for green technology gadgets. And we must be able to do that. Then the last thing I will say is that overall, there must be a community that is serious. Is to make sure that we have our condition. You know, we are created human, of environment, political fund, and all of that. Work to achieve their mandates. We will sit down here as presidential candidates and we are going to become academics, which is not our job. The thorough thinking of all these details can be left in the place of Abuja to do. The job of the government is to take action based on an environmental plan that is not contradictory to your national development plan. And that will make you to go into the area of oil.
Mr. Don't go. You have more time. Just have long. Let's we have done 14 minutes.
Okay.
So I'll stay with you. I will move to the next question.
All right. So let me just do up to 70% of what's already. So I will stop at 15 minutes. I know that you see, I want us to learn to balance here across. So I will use 15 minutes, not because I need this, but I want you to know that I want to be a timekeeper, start from the beginning. So let me just leave that to see that. In the oil sector, we don't have anything to lose because we are lucky that we have more gas than food. Therefore, as we are transiting from black energy to green energy, gas is a good pivot for us, but we are selling gas and we are selling the money. So we will address that in the next conference. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the Constitution. government to that chapter. They have 4 minutes with you now. It's suggested, but the government can decide not to implement it. What will you do?
Okay, no. First, people are making a mistake. It is binding. It is binding. The fact that it's not justiciable means that you cannot enforce it in the court. But it is legally binding because before you become the president, I will have to take an oath that I will observe, enforce, and comply with the Constitution. Every president, including the one who is there now, take that office to go to office. Even Shakari took it. So it is binding, and you can be removed from office for being in breach of your oath of office if there was a National Assembly that wants to make it enforceable. You can also be voted out by voters if they take that oath seriously. But the idea of justiciable means that it is so complex that it is what the judge of America, federal court, called agreement of imperfect obligation. So they don't want the judiciary to be asking political questions, even though that's what they are doing every day now. But the idea came from India that it should not be justiciable in the sense that you cannot go to court for it. However, many components of it have been legislated. So when you legislate it and you put an enforcement mechanism in it, you can go to court and enforce it. So that you would, as a true believer in the Constitution of Nigeria, we don't need it to be enforced against us. Having taken that office, I can guarantee to Nigeria that will be the president that will enforce Chapter 2 strictly. The party is already doing so now.
Thank you. I just follow up on your presentation. For one area I'm keenly interested in here, if you go to the Sahel, there is tension in the Sahel in the West African Republic. From Cape Job, if you go to Burkina Faso, Islamist jihadis are on rampage. You come to the edge of Nigeria, you have Boko Haram. And Boko Haram operates within the Lake Chad Basin. The Lake Chad Basin is an absence of conflict. The Lake Chad is drying up. It's about to battle. So herdsmen are moving into the green areas. What is your plan?
Thank you. You see, many of the problems you see here, they're not even environmental problems per se. They are problems of failure of government. First, if you look at the amount of money we need to refloat the child, it is not up to 10% of what EFCC announces all the time as the story from the Nigerian government. So Nigeria is not a country that will need to call on the world to come and save it and its environment because we have enough resources to really contribute. Secondly, the doctrine of national development that we had before, including national defense policy, regarded anything happening in West Africa, the lowest tip of the Sahel, and Central Africa as Nigeria's theater, were the global power around here by nature of God's gift. Therefore, if you have an efficient government in Nigeria, and you will see that there have been many resolutions for dealing with poverty. It's not the reason why we have this open economy and all of that. So when you deal with poverty across West Africa, the impact on the environment will be minimal. Second, we have a defense policy. The of it is there. Whereby around West Africa, we will have military bandits coming there because we have the ability to take care of that if our defense many of these areas have you see no solutions in people's PhD and master's thesis dealing with how to recover our environment. Fourth thing is that we must have stability in our dealings across, so that we don't have communities having clashes, we have a sense of justice all across. So I believe that under our government, we will lead Nigeria well, and what we lead Nigeria well, we will lead West Africa well. And anything that we will look at their own contribution. See how you have.
Thank you. Thank you. We know that the justice is an axis of poverty. When there is violence, it's about poverty. So I'm asking Rabbi Kwakonso, who also comes from a zone of poverty, the Northwest, and we are moving into the Northeast, which is the North Belt of Boko Haram, and the Chad is a problem. What do we do to the Chad? That prison.
Thank you very much. I was thinking that if you are the chairman, you are not called for your removal, because I can see that you are giving more time. So I think it's better this time we are just the mandates of NLTP, and that's the particular also, one about energy. Our government is suggested to come out with what integrated energy policy. Today, we don't have that in the country. And there is nowhere you find that evidence. We're going to talk about how people, women manage to cook food daily. Today, the options that are available, all of them have been programmed. The firewood now that we're talking about, that's the killing forest in northern Nigeria everywhere. So there must be a way to put this urgently. The issue of kerosene, which used to be available, today is not available, or if it's available, it's at high cost. People take it for granted. Corn, up to now, there are a lot of comments about utilization of corn, especially from the environmentalists. And Nigeria has a lot of vast corn reserves. So there must be a way to harness that and utilize it along the line. And then we're also talking about solar energy. Nigeria, we have that. I believe several Muslims have been making this point very clear. Solar energy, hydroelectricity. So because the good thing about Nigeria today is that we don't have any nuclear energy facility for now, like they have it in Europe and other places. But in anticipation of whatever is going to happen, we can prepare that we can look for integrated energy policy and serve domestic, and then the market, and then industrial services. Second one, sir, the issue of land use. You have mentioned the issue of what's happening in the northern Nigeria. It's part of the problem of lack of management of the land. Ordinarily, there should be cohabitation between farmers and the caterpillars. I had a privilege to head the Ministry of Agriculture almost 23-25 years ago. We raised this concern that they should be very careful if they allow the farmers and caterpillars quarreling and fighting among themselves. There's no way of stopping it. Today, they are always fighting over land. Therefore, land use management must also be visited again, so that people will have access to it and utilize it effectively, so that nobody will be hurt. Of course, the other point is the issue of industries. Now, so far, we don't have many industries in the country. The people that are managing are still having trouble of having effective energy and energy going up and down. So if you have integrated energy policy, then your industries, both local, big and small, will be able to survive. What we are having today is like what we have this generative economy all over, and part of the pollution we also talk about. So we have to have integrated policy. The issue of land is very water.
So you have 30 seconds more.
30 seconds, yes, thank you.
And you not answer the child question.
It's part of the degradation I'm talking about.
Okay.
So I want to look at the mandate, the agenda we have before us. That's what I'm talking about. The mandate to cover everything. The issue of water, one of the things this year was across all over the country. And we have dams. This can be managed, this can be organized, this can be utilized. There are many dams I know in this country that are not being utilized for other consumption of water, or for irrigation, or for hydroelectricity. They are there like decorations. And every rainy season, they burst out and they say what we saw this year. NNPP government will manage this issue. And the issue of the child, we are going to address when we come back to it.
Thank you, sir. And let me also remind us, we are going to be strict with time. We are going to be strict with time. So that right? Because some issues are also being raised there that demand some follow-up questions. At some point, sir, I want to ask you to clarify if there is really no fertilizer company or production company in Nigeria. I will want you to clarify at some point. I know there's one in Element, in Port Harcourt. There's a Dangote fertilizer plant in Lagos. I just clarification. Okay. We'll look at that again as we go. Because I'm asking myself, if I go on radio, should I say that Rapid Department said there is no fertilizer producing company in Nigeria? So we don't need to clarify. The way I want to maybe, okay, give me the right stuff.
What we are saying is that Nigeria is a vast country. I'm not taking advantage of time, just talk more. No, just answer your question. Nigeria is a vast country, and Nigeria's soil is not the same. The soil in Kaduna may not be the same thing in Bayelsa, or Sokoto, or Enugu. So normally you need another company that produce fertilizers that are sensitive to soil condition in every region as much as possible. And I'm sure you know, every city in this part of the country, there's always a struggle for importation of fertilizers by state governments. And most of them have become political crops now. Fertilizer has become a political crop. It's a way of getting money from the government out from the people and they put it in the pocket. So therefore, if there is fertilizer company, then that is not in the capacity. Is it produces sufficient fertilizer for the use of every farmer in Nigeria? If that's like that, we celebrate it.
Yes, thank you. That's a clarification I was trying for. Thank you, Bob. We have made that clarification. We might not be producing enough for our farmers. Thank you, Mr. Abudebi Kachuku. Should I say, it's a big chat question, but I also we want you to make some clarification as to tackle that big chat question. You are calling for a localization of science, but are you doubting the efficacy of science? Because I know science is universal. So are you saying Western science does not address local issues?
That's what I've said. My point was very clear. I said that there's commercial intent behind science. And as a country, we must have our standpoint. We must protect our people when we stand behind any science. Do we align with science blindly, or do we align with science to protect our local economy and our people? That's the point I was making. So if there's any global research, we must have supporting research, or we must have homegrown research that aligns with that, right? So that we are all on one page as against taking everything they give us from foreign countries, and sinker, without having an input into it. And that's what our government seems to be doing on so many things. I believe that where the candidate Rapid Papa, so where he was going with fertilizers, when he was saying that we bring fertilizers into the country, but those fertilizers are not localized to our climatic conditions in Nigeria. Whereas if we had homegrown fertilizer companies that are climatized to our type of soil, we might have a different kind of output. I believe that that's what he was saying. But where I disagree with him is, on one hand, he speaks about fertilizers, and on the other hand, he speaks about organic outputs. Where the world is going today, people are looking at organic produce. So you see, the richest company, one of the richest companies in the world today is Louis Vuitton. Why are they rich? They are going for the high-end markets, and they are the richest company in the world. If you enter any grocery store overseas, the most expensive produce there is organic produce. That is produce that has not been touched by any fertilizer.
Thank you. Yeah. Now, You are from the Niger Delta.
Yes, sir.
Herdsmen move from the Chad Basin down to farms in the Niger Delta, and there is troubles in the community. So they charge the problem, no water for the cow, and you want to be president. Herdsmen crisis is an issue, and it has to do with lack of water too. So, how do you intend to tackle this problem?
It's very simple. One of the greatest challenges we had in the last 8 years with this government was the body language of the current president of Nigeria. His body language seems to suggest to our security agency that his kids and kin from any part of the world were free to walk into Nigeria and contest and compete for resources with Nigerians, no matter how they went about it, even if they included using AK-47s to take down our people. So, all over the world, from time immemorial, there's always a competition for scarce resources. The Chad Basin happens to be one of those scarce resources. What will I do as president of Nigeria? I will secure our borders. Our borders will be secure. It will be a no-go area. If you want to come into Nigeria, you come into Nigeria legally. If you want to reside in Nigeria, reside in Nigeria safely. What do I do about the scarce resource there? Again, it's about science. If we have no water in that part of Nigeria, right, we always have to grow produce in soil type, in an environment that is best suited for that produce. So, for example, you can grow cassava in most parts of Nigeria, but where do you have comparative advantage? Where do you have economies of scale? That's where you should grow cassava. Nigeria is one of the only countries where we have this archaic nomadic practice of rearing farm animals. So many lives have been lost due to ignorance. As president of Nigeria, I will ensure that ranching is practiced. How do you practice ranching? Like what the present government is trying to do now, without people feeling like you are trying to steal their land. If a young girl here wants to start a hairdressing business, she has to rent a store. She has to pay for the store. She needs to buy a generator. She has to pay for the generator. If you need to run a ranch in Nigeria, you rent land, you pay for the land wherever that land might be. Number two, in order to enforce it, to ensure that people don't continue this open grazing that continues to kill innocent Nigerians, what I will do is to work with all the state governments and ensure that they pass laws. These laws will simply state that any meat, beef, any type of meat that you sell must be sold in a meat shop. And if it's sold in a meat shop, we must be able to track which ranch that meat came from. This means if this meat didn't come from a ranch that is registered, you can't sell it in that meat shop. This also means that all those who do open grazing, when they find that there's no longer any economy supporting the open grazing, but they cannot sell their cattle because it's not ready in a ranch, they will stop it immediately. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just looking at this ranch and this shop. I'm looking at the Nigerian economy all the time. Anyway, if we have time, we will come back to that. You know, one issue, we are just looking at the Chad Basin Commission. You know, one of the functions of that commission is water resources management, climate action for ecosystem and biodiversity. No, so it's a commission, and the Chad Basin is still in trouble. Look at it from that angle.
You know, one of the biggest problems Nigeria faces is that each time we have a major problem, we set up a commission to tackle it, and then the commission becomes a problem itself. I am not going to be a president that sets up commission to discuss why the Chad Basin lost 90% of its water volume. It was a climate crisis that we didn't respond to. We are talking about flooding of Nigeria today from, is it Lado Dam in Cameroon? As our friend at the SDP said, there is no reason why we should not be directing the excess water from Lado Dam to the Chad Lake, or Lake Chad, as we call it. The reason why you have herdsmen going down south was because their original source of water, the Lake Chad, dried up. The Lake Chad is not supporting Nigeria alone, it's supporting about 4 countries. And when these people lost their means of livelihood, they had to find water somewhere. What I would do as president of Nigeria is to establish ranches. What my friend said here is what I said 2018, but I'm not establishing political ranches. They're called Ruga. Everybody in Nigeria will have a right to set up a shop called a ranch. You can go there as a herdsman. It's going to be hydroponic. It has grass, either haze or green grass. And you can feed your cow after paying a certain amount of money. The people that eat meat the most, I've said it anywhere in the world, are Yoruba people. They eat every part of meat. Yoruba have a name for every part of cow, nose, yash, everything. But they don't have ranches in Yoruba land. There is no reason why the Redeemed Church, that eats over 2,000 cows a day during their Holy Ghost Congress, cannot have a ranch. There's no reason why we cannot reopen the Obudu Ranch. Obudu Ranch used to be a ranch for cows, it's not a hotel. Because our leaders, maybe when they started, we had sensible leaders. They weren't creating commissions, they were solving problems. Our professor here, Akali, was talking about Kwakwaso. Kwakwaso has been in every government since 1999. He was commissioner of this, he was defense minister, he was governor for 2 years. If there's any position, class captain, Kwakwaso will take it. But it is that same ambition that led to some of the highest number of out-of-school children in Kano. If you vote for Kwakwaso to come and become president of Nigeria, you want to extend the number of out-of-school children. That is why I always tell them it's time for them to retire. Let young digital people run this country. And I promise them I will take care of them because it will be a social security sector for elders in the country. So that the Obasanjos of this world, the Salamis of this world, will stop running around trying to create peace commission because they are the ones who brought trouble in the first place. But let's go back to environment, which is very, very important to me. I was saying here that I study geography. Part of the problem of our leaders is that they don't understand that the equator passes around Nigeria. Nigeria is half of the world divided into 2. You can only know that if you are a geography student. And why? If you are sitting in Lagos, the climate is different. If you drive to Lokoja, the climate and vegetation is different. If you go to Benue, your climate and vegetation and soil is different. If you are in Borno, the climate, soil, and the weather is different. People don't understand that even in this country, in flying, there are places that are more turbulent than the others. It's climatic. Some of it is climate issue. But we keep just repeating the same thing. Our problem is not fertilizer. Fertilizer is a business of destroying soil. Why is it that there were healthier food during our parents' time, organic food without fertilizer, and it is now that fertilizer came that we live shorter life? So people don't understand the environment because they don't understand that, like Prince said, we are also part of the environment.
Before the audience will talk about it, we'll have one more question from Margaret from here. But let's first welcome the presidential candidate of the Young Progressive Party who walked in while we were talking.
No, I don't. No, that's not him. That's not him. That's his VP. That's his VP. That's VP to SDP. other.
The vice presidential candidate of
SDP.
All right, thank you very much for welcome. Okay, so one more question from the moderator here, and the audience. I hope you're getting your questions ready. You will have to engage the candidates before you ask your questions.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you, Alekon. We're progressing. I will start asking my question from SOWORE, from this side, and to the last end. The issue of green politics has been internationalized, as well as politicized. It is actually hinged on deceptive arrangement from the early years. We've seen how the international community came together under the Kyoto Protocol. The world community wanted to reduce gases emissions into the atmosphere. And that's why they gathered in Japan in order to deliberate on the way to actually cut gases emissions. But in the long run, the United States of America refused to ratify the Kyoto Protocol. We went to Copenhagen, the 17th. We went to Paris Climate Summit organized by the United Nations. What happened? Donald Trump, being the president of the United States, withdrew the United States of America from the Paris Climate resolution. So you can see that it is axiomatic that the issue of green politics has been universalized and internationalized. So the question here is that our hope and wish is that we're not going to have deceptive policies in Nigeria that will not actually bear the burden of the people in this country. The question is that the United Nations Environment Programme in 2011 has established an evidence that the Ogoni people suffer from the impact of oil pollution, especially in the Niger Delta and other areas within the Niger Delta. How will you, in your presidency, try to deal with this oil pollution that actually bedevils the Niger Delta? Oil has been discovered in part of Bauchi and other parts of the country. So this will further exacerbate oil pollution in the country. What are your plans to deal with this particular issue if elected? Sorry, 2 minutes, please.
Well, thank you very much. You know, the problem with the international politics of environment is very simple. How do people go to a climate conference in private jets? There are over 500 private jets that came to Paris, and these are the major pollutants of the environment. If you want to fix the environment, you must deal with the people who cause the environmental problem. The international oil companies, for instance, they are the ones who sit at the high table discussing the environment. They are the ones who pollute the environment. They are also the ones who call people to conferences to come address the environmental problem. That is why they look down on us, because we just parrot most of the time what they have handed down to us in terms of what they say is our environmental problem. Without an environmental justice system internationally that punishes polluters of the environment, you cannot have environmental justice that is being romanticized at these conferences. For instance, there is an international criminal court in the world. I think international oil companies and companies that are polluting the environment around the world even do worse things, right? Worse things to the environment than people who engage in war. You have Bill Gates. Bill Gates is at all these conferences, but Bill Gates is also a proponent of genetically modified foods. That's part of how he makes his billions. But when he talks, everybody's listening without interrogating and questioning what is his own role in polluting the environment. So until you have that level of engagement at these international conferences in which superior nations cannot do what they like, while the inferior nations are just there as onlookers, then you can't solve environmental problems, because we are actually the ones who are the receiving ends of terrible environmental injustices around the world. So that is what I'll do, is that we must have a voice that is Pan-African, because we must be able to say at these conferences that this is how we want our environment to be treated. Don't come telling us what to do to our environment. We want to tell you how much damage you have done. And first and foremost, my proposition will be compensation. From the time of slavery to the invasion of Akasa, and what they did in Niger Delta region. And the compensation must come first before we start talking about every other thing. I want to be an African leader. As Prince has said, Nigeria has a defense policy that made them to be calling Nigeria giant of Africa. But today, Nigeria cannot fight against Boko Haram. The same Nigeria that ended the war in Liberia and Sierra Leone cannot defeat ragtag Boko Haram. Because the giant of Africa appellation was a stupid appellation. They didn't figure into it that we have leaders who have brain of ants. And that's how we became the ants of Africa today.
Thank you, Jory. I now move to the NEC presentation of Nigeria. The honor there of the gas flaring that actually occurs, in the Niger Delta. If you look at the nexus between the gas flaring activity in the Niger Delta and the biodiversity, looking at the genetic biodiversity, species biodiversity, as well as the ecosystem biodiversity, which gets seriously affected. How will you intervene in order to make sure biodiversity is fully protected in our country?
Thank you. I don't know how many people noticed what happened in Port Harcourt and Bielsa last 2 years, when they had so much soot and smog in the air and people could not breathe properly. This is one of the problems away from the gas flare that has been going on there for decades. What will I do? Very simple. I will ensure that every oil company there that is still gas flaring pays a penalty sufficient to ensure that they stop gas flaring immediately. Flare gas is useful, we can still convert that into useful product. But because they have so many things that they are drilling there, they are mining there, they don't want to do anything about flare gas. So I will ensure that they pay very steep penalties so that they immediately stop gas flaring. For all those who want to still operate in Niger Delta, I will ensure that they operate or do what we call clean drilling. We see that in Canada, we see that in Saudi Arabia, we see that in Kuwait. You never hear about this issue there because they have laws that protected these people in operating in a manner that protects the local population and that protects the environment. We need to do the same thing in the Niger Delta. We need to protect the aqua life, we need to protect the green life, we need to protect our communities there by ensuring that our laws are enforced. And where we don't have laws, we need to put in place laws and regulations that ensure that those companies operate in the confines of the laws and regulations that protect our aqua life, our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Now move to the representative of the NNPP to Liberia. Sir, you're all aware from what he said in submission about gas flaring activity in the Niger Delta, which contribute to greenhouse emissions. And it seriously affects the lives of the people, in those areas, health-wise. What preliminary measure will you put in place if elected to deal with emergency issues as it relates to the health of Nigerians? Because it is apparent that the issue of gas flaring will not have a limit except in the Niger Delta, considering the discovery of oil in other parts of Nigeria. So what would be your plans to deal with the health issues, that will actually affect the lives of our people, not only in the Niger Delta as a result of gas flaring? Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is a colleague of the colleague to see that I think I can also sit there and apologize. Well, thank you very much. I think one of the strategy of our country is that we don't manage our resources and our assets. But that's what's happening with the oil issue and the cancer issue, that's the issue we are talking about. We don't manage our resources. There are many countries in the world that do not have what we have today. And they are dreaming of getting some of the people that have to make them pay. car. So I think anything that police attention, I think it's a very important position that any government coming in this year must work alongside to try to get with the communities and the IOCs so that you deal with this environmental degradation in OSCC area. Because it's a collective responsibility. And there are elements also internal elements which also sabotage. So if you don't work with the local community, whatever you do as federal government, whatever you do as state government, whatever you do as IOC, you don't work. Therefore, it's a collaborative effort. The issue of child basing, I want you to know that at the moment now, there are only two issues that are going to be the source of conflict in Africa for a long time: water and land. That is shrinking because right now, countries of the world, they have changed their land policies, where everything is organized and systematized. Here we assume the land is there for available for anybody to pick and take them and use for whatever purpose. And therefore, you have this kind of pressure on the land. For us, those who are associated with Fulani tradition and culture and history, this traditional method of reframing is out of date, but you must modernize it. You must give it the time to develop. You need all the options. Let me tell you, most of us see those children, movements, one body, growing up with the country, more than as slaves. They're not like modern day slaves. So we have every policy that is not like government to make sure that this is changed, honestly, whether by ranching or whatever. But it has to be also integrated for the community, let them know their interests, they should be carried along. It's very, very important. And therefore, I'm also talking about soil erosion, especially in the southeast area. It's not environmental degradation of Akoya, but it's degradation by soil erosion. This area also take much of the land in those areas. Government will take care of that. So what we are saying here is that they have to integrate approach to the environmental factor so that every community will be able to have a sense of belonging in this country. And any peculiar problem that a particular community will be addressed automatically. But not using the same medicine for different diseases and different cases. No. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I now want to make presentation candidate of the SDB. If you critically look at the North America Free Trade Area, NAFTA, the triangular relationship between the United States, Canada, and Mexico, it is actually an unbalanced relationship. Why? Because the United States of America has stringent measures as it affects the environment. So also Canada. While Mexico has loose environmental policies. So the United States of America will establish companies in Mexico, as well as gain economically in terms of industrial activity. So my question here is that, how will you place Nigeria in terms of environmental policy to make sure that Nigeria is well positioned, well placed, in order not for multinational corporations to come and bastardize our environment? Thank you. Okay. Now, starting from North America, where I live for many years, alongside SOWORE, and I'm sure you will live there for some time. We there are not deceived. Canada, US, America, they are one plantation for the same company. Ford, Boeing, all of them. So these international corporations don't recognize countries. Anywhere there is results, they go there. That's not number one. Second, in Nigeria, before we start going to any of these issues, we must prize the miracle of forming a government. Since 1999, when I'm elected, I'll be the 5th president since 1999. But it will be the first time we have a government. What will be happening before I don't hear administration? We are not a government. Because a government will base on the philosophy. And one, the people are in charge of their country, the sovereignty. And that their government arises from them. If you look at many of these people around, they are calling frontliners. They are sponsored by the same oil companies, the same international system. They are the same people that was done in this country when people claim that we owe them money, brought their own official to come and run our Ministry of Finance and collected their own money. So before we can talk about confronting anything on the international scene, we must first, for the first time now, forget what is going on with Libya and elect for yourself an autonomous government arising from the people of Nigeria. They have the mandate from Nigeria, and that's what the people will give you. Now, after that, forget international politics first. I don't need to go to any world conference before I know how to write regulations for management of the environment. Because no oil company can come to Nigeria to drill 1 barrel without being licensed by Nigeria. And in the last few years, for some reason, several years, the petroleum minister is always the president all the time. Obasanjo was the petroleum minister. In Jonathan's time, his best friend in the world was Minister of Petroleum. And Buhari came, he made himself petroleum minister. So what it means is that our presidents have been working for oil companies. And the politics of Nigeria, I'm going to ask those of us, many people who are involved in law enforcement, they will tell you that the politics of Nigeria, anytime there is election now, that's when the oil companies pay money back to those people who are allowed them to make a lot of money. That's one thing about oil I want us to understand. Every experience of oil production is not like that of Nigeria. If you go to Qatar, Kuwait, UAE, USA, Europe, North Atlantic, where UK, Scotland, whatever was doing on, they did not allow them to destroy the environment like that. So oil companies don't behave the same way everywhere. Anywhere you see oil companies misbehaving, it's where the people don't have a government. So Nigeria, don't give yourself. There is, as of today, no federal government of Nigeria. Because Boko Haram does not respect the government and go anywhere it likes. Bandits don't recognize the government and go anywhere it likes. Judges can issue warrants for the arrest of terrorists. You cannot execute it. The terrorists can arrest the judge and then you will go on strike. So, what we need to know is that these problems will remain academic. For as long as you don't understand that you must first be capable of setting up a government that is in place. And that is what we will need to do. After that, we will exercise authority over this country. And you will see that our companies will obey. Because we are not taking back, we are not collecting money from them for campaign, we are not running expensive campaign, and we are not looking for a fair price, which is why our people are looking for international friends. But international companies, I have worked with them over the years. I am an investment lawyer that goes all over the world. The first thing about any company will ask you, including other companies, they want to study the politics of that country. If their leaders are irresponsible like our own, then they will send thugs to come and run it. If their leaders are responsible, they will send civilized people to come and run it. We will show them that Nigeria is capable of forming an LDP government that is responsible.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Please give you a round of applause. Questions. So we'll go to professors now. Your questions first, then any other person. You can raise your hand. Professor, are you here? And then Dr. Prince, are you here? Okay, so,
Thank you very much today. Wonderful meeting. Now, I will start. My question will be based on governance in this country and its effect on many Nigerians. Now, and presidential candidates, any of them are working to become the president. For me, the election just of the president. Now, if you become the president of Nigeria, going to our presidential candidate, you notice that Nigerian government is making the program of Nigerian government is poverty for Nigerians. How many people? 130 million Nigerians are poor from the government. Now, by the time you walk in to that presidency, and with the amount of money, amount of control that the president has on our resources, the government has on our resources, how will you use this money to make sure that Nigeria, that poverty in Nigeria is clear, so that it will be possible to bring Nigeria? How will we achieve that? See, every month the governors gather here, they share their take money, and when they go back, they keep the salaries of their workers for up to 6 months without paying them. But they will first of all pay themselves. There is no governor or president that has not one salary. So workers in Nigeria say 6 months and above without receiving salary from the same government that pay themselves their salary without the president of the government. How would you try to step into the government? How do you make sure that you do not impoverish Nigeria, that you use Nigerian money to give them? See, even the part of their parents, they have been impoverished for 8 months up to today. Nobody is really talking about programs, and that means lecturers are poor, workers in the university are poor, and that's the essence of governance in Nigeria, to make everybody poor so that it will be well with them.
Okay, I would like to advise that we put down the questions for the political party candidates, and let's say like 3 that we can respond because of time. Okay, we have to introduce Dr. Prince. The next part really is city issues. He's going to join us all the way from Port Harcourt University this morning. He's got a question to ask the president and just go through. Give me a mic, please. Okay. Dr. Eru, is that? Okay, please ask your question.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to stand on a district protocol because I have to observe it. If not, to stand on a district protocol is a collapse. Our able presidential candidate, this question is for you. We are talking about environment today. Now, people and our presidential candidates are talking about renewable energy that is going to be based on the solar system electricity. But in my quest to look at the entirety of this country, from the south of the Sahara to the north of the Limpopo, there is no trace of any locally manufactured, equipment of this same renewable energy we are talking about. Are you people still thinking about bringing them from Europe and America to be, to reside in Nigerian environment? Or we are talking about locally manufactured energy that we are talking about? That is my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Prince, and then we'll answer.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Ian Alex. I represent the Rotary Club of Port Harcourt. I came all the way from Port Harcourt to be part of this conversation. Now, since 2016 in Port Harcourt, the atmosphere of Port Harcourt has been with suit. The University Government set up committee, and the technical reports suggested that there are 2 major sources of the suit. One, gas carried by national oil companies, and 2, artisanal refining activities going on in the Niger Delta. What are we going to do to ensure that the suit in the Harcourt is stopped? Number one, stakeholder democracy network carry out a study on the good and the products produced by artisanal refiners in the Niger Delta.
These are things that imported what to do refiners of the secure quality. Having that in mind, what are you going to do to ensure that the operations are legalized, licensing them for local refineries and number two question. Once we agree in the transition, and individuals that they became aggressive by only what this transition is carrying out. And finally, since the government came on board, there has been the issue of owning cleanup. I am from River State and I've seen that one concrete is being done with respect to clean up the way. What will you do differently to be made as president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? Thank you.
I know this will be too much, but we'll have one more doctor to talk, and then Dr. Miro, the lecturer at the Department of Political Science and Integrated Media Abuja. Are you there, doctor?
Yes, thank you very much.
Please be brief. So
yes. I want to appreciate my history for being forced to, make this discussion of climate change and environmental concerns very particular to the Niger Delta. Because the Niger Delta today represents a metaphor for the hazards of climate change in the world. It's a metaphor because for over 30 years, I have been Niger Delta, for over 30 years, we have not known nights in my place. Why? Because of that level. The night time is also a different because there's light. So now I know that one of these candidates is going to emerge as the president of Nigeria. Now, but it is possible that a party that does not have real majority in the Senate, and not as well, it will do too much. So I want to ask, especially SOWORE, what support if your party does not have enough senators and honorable members in the
I believe you will see the one that ask questions. Please let me answer them. Then we'll come to the students.
Can I get? Let me just quickly announce for those of you who may not know that I'm actually from the Niger Delta region by way of Ondo State. So some of these issues we are discussing have been part of my entire life. When I was a young kid, there was also gas flaring in Nigeria where my father was a teacher. When I asked my father what that light was, he told me it was the Northern Star. When I grew up, some 25 years later, that Toronto Douglas, who is late now, told me about the fact that these are gas flares all over the Niger Delta region. I want to address the question from our professor about poverty. The interesting thing is that these presidential candidates we are seeing here today are some of the poorest, except Kwapansu, of course. We are the poorest of the presidential candidates. In the order of the SDP man is rich, and followed by him, he's richer, and the poorest of all of them. So you are not the only people who are poor. I'm also very poor, and that's why I am your candidate. I understand what it means to be poor. Yes. And there's a nexus between poverty and where I come from, the Niger Delta region of Nigeria. I started as a fisherman in Nigeria at the age of 9. Then there was fish. By the time I became 51 years old, most of those fishes we used to fish have become extinct. And I want to warn us as human beings that we are not the only people on earth, and a lot of careless animals have become extinct. So nothing stops the environment one day, nothing stops the earth one day from wiping out humanity as we are. If we keep messing with the environment, there's nothing special about us other than being lousy. We are not different from the fishes in the ocean that have disappeared, or plants that used to know, or the dinosaurs that you used to hear about that don't exist anymore. It was the fact that dinosaurs, they don't have the sixth sense that got them extinct. But that's a conversation for another day. So to end what they call multidimensional poverty in Nigeria, the people of Nigeria must rise up against the greedy people who always take care of themselves. And I will say this is a practical solution. University lecturers used to be activists in this country. What happened to ASU? ASU is not even organizing any town hall meeting in these election cycles. Whereas they are affected by the academic decisions that will be taken by people who don't care about them. So Nigeria has been feeding the greedy and ignored the needy. And that is what our government will restore, is to redistribute wealth in the country. And we'll do it with our full chest. There is no reason why one person, a governor, will have 200 policemen, army, civil defense guarding them, and the rest of us have no policemen. A friend of mine in this university had his 9-year-old son kidnapped. In a university environment, I've never heard it before, that kidnappers enter staff quarters of university to go and kidnap them. And nothing was done about it until maybe they were just kind enough after the DSS intervened by way of bribing them. That's what they call ransom. So not only are you poor, you are not safe. That's the truth. And in production of solar energy devices that one of our professors asked, Nigeria cannot produce anything until we have energy ourselves. So unfortunately, we have to get the energy from Europe first before we can transfer the technology that can help us to produce this. And one person asked about, is it only solar energy that is going to be energy transfer? No, solar is just one of the various mixes of energy sources. Somebody, I was talking about ranching the other time, I didn't get to it. Do you know that cow dung, the shit from cow, can be used to generate electricity? Most of you don't know. Do you know that corn can generate electricity? The waste in Lagos can generate the electricity that will take care of almost the entire southwest. But again, I can't say it enough. You cannot achieve any of these things with the kind of leaders they call front runners in all this in this election. The Bulabalu town hall meeting people. Yes. Please, I wanted to address the issue of gas flaring very quickly, because it's very important in Port Harcourt. The issue of suits in Port Harcourt is the refineries and, as I said, gas flaring. Port Harcourt city is hell on earth, and people are going to be dying from all this soot you are hailing. It's not a joke. I was leaving Port Harcourt this last, I think it was 2 months ago. It was 7 a.m. There's one gas flare very close to the airport. They said it has been there since the beginning of time. Why can't they put it off? And the question I'm asking myself, the refineries are not working. Where are you getting soot from? Is it possible that Nigerian government is refining soot and pumping it into Port Harcourt? Because you can't doubt these government officials in Nigeria. Maybe they want to eliminate the Niger Delta people. Because where is the soot coming from when refineries are not working? I don't get that part of it, and I want somebody to educate me. Party representatives, please. Somebody was asking about it, but I want to answer that. We are going to form a government that is going to work for Nigeria. I guarantee you that there is no permanent party person in Nigeria. Nigeria is the only country where you can go to bed as SDP and wake up as APC. So if the people that are going to be elected want to work for the Nigerian people, we will be one political party that is working in the interest of the people. There is no permanent party member in Nigeria. There should be one, everybody who is elected to work in the interest of the people, not to work in the interest of the political party. We don't have any ideology. We are the only ones who have it. Let them join us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I remember the question.
I remember the question. There was something.
That one I spoke.
There are so many questions here, expecting him to answer those questions in 2-3 minutes.
It's a lot, yeah.
You may just need to answer one or two.
And let me say this quickly. I commend the school for organizing this, but it's also implies that if you have organized this, and are well informed, we are informed, very from each other, getting from that's the only way we can. Announce every day for the next month for leading candidates. To make sure that also here, B2B and those elections, when they are the same office, that's the same time that authorize us and immediately go into that staff. carbons are oil. We will not go anywhere. We should look at clean energy that they affects our economy. What about institutes? Our universities will start researching how we can make cleaner energy from our crude oil to power our countries, so that we can say together with you guys, you don't want oil, but the oil will power our countries. We won't buy your solar panels because those are not homegrown technology for us. It does not make sense that in a country where crude is immensely of our economy, how many universities of petroleum engineering do you have in Nigeria? How did China get developed? They said, we want to be the industrial powerhouse of the world. Let's look at the sciences. And that was a clearly articulated policy of the educational system. What's our policy in Nigeria? Mr. Lecturer, you spoke about ASU not being paid. Let me say this. If you have not been paid for 8 months, please, how are you surviving? I really wonder, but is it because that most lecturers today who are in public universities have second jobs in private universities? Is that why you are surviving when government is not paying you in public universities? Is that why we have strikes for almost a year and children of the poor were suffering? We have to ask ourselves real critical questions and tell ourselves the truth. Going back to Ogoni cleanup, one of the reasons it's not happening is that the communities who are impoverished still share money with those first. They bring money, they share the money because they are impoverished. I tell you something, I operate in that environment, I see what happens, the position there. Government takes money, they send money to some of the chiefs there, and they don't do what needs to be done for those communities. It's a crime. What my government will do will ensure that we enforce, will ensure that we mitigate, will ensure that we protect those communities, that foreign companies, foreign IOCs will not come and take advantage of our people again. I keep on saying this: go to Saudi, go to Oman, go to Dubai, go to Qatar, go to all these places and see how people who have oil in their backyard, see how those people live. Juxtapose that against our people here, the poorest people. It's a crime. Thank you very much.
Moderators, I think you are doing a good job. Initially, I do want to respond to what Soraya was saying, but you have repeated it twice. Soraya is a very intelligent man, and he knows the direction of Nigerian policy today. In the past, he was fighting APC and PDP. And this morning, when we came, we helped each other, we are friends and associates. But when we realized that I belong to the top 4, now we are putting it for me.
Of course.
Can you imagine? Now you see what's the person. How can somebody in his own mind, very intelligent person, compare Okoso with somebody who said, "You blah." How can we do that? Is it there? As a student of Nigeria, is it there? Somebody who cannot take this step from here to that place without being carried on a stretcher. Is it true? It's not true. It's true. So very much. I think it's true. And that's what I call much better. Look, the mistake we are going to make is that you don't know even our enemies. You don't know our enemies. I think you don't know our enemies, then we have a problem. The other person we are talking about is the person who has promised to privatize everything in this country, and starting with the oil assets. And when you privatize oil assets, then the country loses control over everything now. And then you don't have oil security, every aspect of it. All this about environmental regulation, about black soup, about the United Delta, about lack of clean water or drinking water, will become more difficult and more compressed form. So therefore, I want to believe with my colleagues and other colleagues from this table, join us to fight them, because they alone they cannot fight these people. We are the one who are in the forefront today, and we are sure we can make it. Now, poverty. One of the things NLP has promised, and I'm happy that Prime Soko was here to present an agenda. I didn't want to repeat it, because those people who are here, and some of our colleagues who are here, have it right. That the fundamental way of addressing poverty is provide education. And he has said that. And sometimes, as the governor of Kano State, he has done that not only by building 2 state universities, using a record of 4 years each one, over 200 secondary schools, but he also take over 5,000 to 10,000 students nationwide, worldwide. Most of them are not engineers. Most of them are pilots. Most of them are medical doctors. Most of them are community nurses. You are taking all of our private schools and public schools in this country. And he has promised that once he's elected this year, all children of the poor who are prepared for JAM and level, why nothing, you are going to be scattered within all these places. You cannot do it. What happened? I got clear promise about that. We are very clear. We also promise that we are going to reduce security men in the military, in the police. And it is young men and young women that are going to be recruited. We said that this is the way to address poverty. Because unless you get big children, there is a difficulty and problem. Now we are also talking, when we were here, that there are over 22 to 20 million out of school children. You don't have money. And he said you will make sure that in the next 4 years, you are not going to have any child in the streets. No political party can make that promise, even as we are sitting here today. And if you want to allow anybody who will sleep in this country, as a money or whatever, even in these casual years, as we are seeing them, everybody will be available for good day in the insecurity or in the network. So therefore, we are very clear about how to tackle poverty, and we are also very clear about youth. And we give scholarship. NLP said that once we take over, all the various organizations and departments and units giving scholarship at various levels, they are all going to be consolidated and brought under one organization, so that every child of the poor person has access to this scholarship and is going to go to any country of the world and study and come back. So therefore, for us now, I would not like to associate myself with that story of my colleague, taking despondency, here in your mind that everything is lost. We are supposed to promise you something better for the future of our country. Not to agitate your mind so that you lose hope. No, there is hope for you. After all of us that are sitting here, we said that we started our journey and we started here. What are you starting? Now, here the issue of environmental crisis we have in the United States is going to be addressed just like the case we said in the Chad Basin, in Northwest Road. And we also said that if you are going to address the issue of poverty, you must also address the issue of security. We have pushed a lot of effort on this matter now here. Because we said that we are going to open the door for discussion with any group of people who are angry. Because we believe nobody can take arms against the state unless they begin to do that. What are these reasons? Why? What can be done? They should engage. It is only when those who fail to accept dialogue. Now, of course, the government will take necessary steps to bring them into line. But you don't start fighting everybody because people are fighting. No. Most of them are youth. Most of them are, some of them are educated. Therefore, everything must be done. And I still want to also say is that it's also important for this particular where we are, this where we are. The government will not emphasize on getting more universities in the first 4 years. Rather, it will emphasize on expanding facilities. Improving welfare of staff, improving conditions of study of academics. And on the issue of ASU, I'm sure those who know Alkali here know that we are part of ASU. Also, those who know the focus on, they know that when it was done now, we were able to manage those two universities without having any crisis ASU out. Therefore, we understand the role of ASU. And we are going to discuss with them dialogue with them so that there will be no crisis in the university. What we have here today are people who benefited from the system. How what to the top? Now they are breaking the ladder so that nobody goes up there. And we are saying that ladder must be built and people must climb up so that they can also prosper and succeed in life.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so that we can go to the issues of the campaign and the issues of what we need to do to solve our problems. Let me just arbitrate between my friends here. The politics of Nigeria is divided into two. And that is why it's not good to sell your reputation to speak for you. Because I know Rabbi Omaso is a very good friend of mine. I consider to be a senior brother. If he was here, I would not talk like this. What SOWORE is saying is this. I am just saying personally, of these 4 people they mentioned now, the one I consider to still be a patriot, a reasonable person, is 4%. Because it's a product of American, and it's one of us. The problem with SOWORE has, which is correct, is that everything you say you will do now, you've had opportunity to do them. You didn't do them. That's what he said. That if you want to recruit people to the army, you are minister of defense. What did you do? It was second, if you were all these ideas work in Kano. At least in the poverty index, Kano will make a difference. But in Kano today, there is no long-term investment. If you remember, it was the governor of Kano. People are still enjoying the dance of everything you do. So also, you could not have been a governor under PDP. You were a minister in PDP, Minister of Defense, when you were selling all these our assets and we sold all of them. You didn't resign. You were the people who went to bring Buhari on your head. You were with them. And you were still with them until recently. So the reason is that if I call the government today, I will call one person to be that government. Because highly intelligent and committed person. But you cannot leave the government after the status quo. Nigerians have to choose between the status quo, the way it is now. Even when, I'm a Christian, so I can say this, when Jesus was on the cross, he had a thief by the right and a thief by the left. Because of the language of the thief, one of the thieves, one thief was better than the other thief. But two of them were thieves. So in the status, there are some of them that still believe in Nigeria, that still believe that the people matter. Those ones in the new system, we can rehabilitate them and bring them. But, and someone was one of them. Very good. But what I'm telling you is that Nigerians should not behave as if we don't know. The reason why some of us are running is so that you won't tell your children that you have no choice. You, the voters, know these people are thieves. You know that they are not sapiens. You know that they have psychomotor problems. You know that some of them, immediately they leave office, they go to Dubai and they acquire assets with your money, and later they come back. You know them very well. You know them. It's the same ASU members who are in the election results upside down as they don't know maths. They are the same members. So you know. What we are saying to you is that nothing has happened yet. Forget about the past. Look at this stage and choose one of the presidents. If you are not going to capitalize your problem, you will grow old. All the professors will retire. They won't get their pension. Many of them, some people have dialysis and all of that to do, nobody will pay for it. These people who are students now will become vice chancellor. The same thing will happen. But on February 25, 2023, you can go to the poll and say what you have to do. I'm not going to choose people I've listened to who appear to know what we are talking about. And if you are in doubt as to what we need to do, let me tell you. Starting with poverty. Poverty in Nigeria is not an accident. Poverty is the program of the government. When I hear statistics about 1.3 million Nigerians being poor, I ask myself, why are the others not poor as well? Because that's a miracle. Because if a person has been robbed money day and night for 60 years, and you come and say they are poor after 60 years of robbery, I'm not supposed to be surprised. I'm not supposed to be surprised. Second, every of these problems you're mentioning here, let's start with issue of solar panel, whether we're importing or not importing. We're importing candles. We're importing diesel. We're importing petrol. Why we're importing oil needs? Even to drill water, we're importing the rig. If you want to make pure water, we're importing the nylon to make pure water. So why are you now angry that we're importing solar panel? Well, we're importing microphone. So, I'm sure it's important. So, what I want us to get right is that we can, whatever form of energy we use, whatever form of energy we use.
They're importing battery for your microphone.
Exactly. Whatever form of energy we use, we must have a system of government that best set up the government, and the government you want. We don't have to go to solar because we have gas. We can turn all our house to gas. I operate a gas corporation company, gas distribution company. This can be done. Even the fertilizer that Professor Akali was talking about the board of the company is Mikano opposite MTN. We have a laboratory that has all the soil patterns in Nigeria. And we make fertilizers. But the problem we have with government is that the government people, Minister of Agri, they use fertilizer to do contracts. First lady will sell, government will sell, everybody will sell. So that is it, they are not recognizing about fertilizer. I use it in my farm, so I use it. So it's doable. In fact, Nigeria can take 20 million people within 6 weeks out of poverty. Within 6 weeks, not 6 months. If you don't develop big fertilizer and give to people for free, with seedling, and they will start back. In 6 months, they will start to see difference. So it's doable. Then you have the government. I don't know if you visited the government before. They are not doing anything about government. Our friends say that they are looking at them. They are not doing government work. You go to the ministry, you say. If you go to the ministry of environment, is there a tree, one tree, planted by any minister of environment in the ministry of environment?
There's no tree.
So what I'm saying, essence of it is that we know our problem. Regarding the suit in Port Harcourt, the thing is causing serious developmental problem for children. It's causing behavioral problem. If you don't know how the suit in Port Harcourt, look at their governor, the way they it's just part of the reason why. No, tell me to that.
It is smoke suit.
The modular refineries, we are utilizing technology. The modular refinery is the best solution for us. What we need to do is to put crackers on them. And I've spent many years advising other companies. I know how this can be done. So I believe that we can refine our food on ourselves, but the political system will change. Because all these people putting money in media and doing everything, they are collecting money from these same sources. And this, what is happening now is that Nigeria started as a business company. I'm not saying as a business. Nigeria was a business company operated in London by Dr. Goldie, formerly Nigeria company. And that company was becoming profitable. So the British paid their money and bought shares in it. So Nigeria became a business of the British. And when they were leaving, they handed it over to their agents. And who can you send back over there? Who didn't know what to do? In the end, over time, they handed over to the military. Over time, now we have PDP, APC, represented. Now, what I can tell you is, nothing is lost. Because what we have gained in all this long suffering, we gain the right to vote. But for you to vote and have your PDC, you need to understand the issue. And these things we are doing here is to let you understand the issues, so that you vote based on your conscience. Any government you get, you cannot ask God to punish them, because you are the one who gave them the power. So right now, you can decide. Let me tell you, before I say you vote for me, first, eliminate voting for people. Anybody who has been voted before, know that, one, either they are incompetent. When they were in government, they didn't use, they have no competence to do what is good. Or they are wicked. They knew what to do and they didn't do it. So that people who get what to do now, when the best friend were in government, didn't tell you how to do it. Thank you, Excellency. So, long and short of it is that it is in your hand. What you are doing is not what you are doing, what you are doing will determine your president.
All right, thank you. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, we know that luxury of time. We're going to give them female students and female students so that they combine that before we do. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is David, I'm from the Department of Education and Technology. So, this paper, I'm ready to say that Nigeria as a global power in terms of resources, who contribute more to global economy. The second thing, that we have the natural resources that we use to develop a country. Yes, sir, we contribute both to the global economy, yet we hold the short end of the stick. What is the good forward? What is the good forward that the Nigerian government leaders do to pull us upon that short stick?
All right, thank you. Sorry, thank you.
I didn't hear what you said.
One male student, two female students.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Question.
We didn't hear your question.
My name is Adeleke Sori from the Economics Department, British Science. And my question is related to the ex-SPP presidential candidate. So when you're starting the introduction, you say something like build out. So the thing is, a lot of people do not enjoy that luxury of breathing in and breathing out. There's a popular artist, called that's
Nigerian oil travels the world with far greater ease than Nigerians. How do you intend to make the Nigerian passport rank high in the world, thereby making it easy for Nigerians to explore the world? Do I take the question again? Okay, it said Nigerian oil travels the world with far greater ease than Nigerians. How do you intend to make the Nigerian passport run high the world, thereby making it easy for Nigerians to explore the world?
All right, thank you. Another female student, please. Any female students? Female student. All right, come over, please. Give us the mic.
Thank you. My name is Babylon. My question is, talk about crude oil destroying our environment, so we should go back to agriculture. So now, are you saying that once we have gotten into power, we're going to totally stop the mining of crude oil and go strictly into agriculture?
All right, thank you. People's Lady, please. People's Lady, last. People's Lady, please come out. Yeah.
Sorry, it's People's Gazette.
People's Gazette, all right.
Good afternoon. This is my question. All the candidates who spoke as though as they have the authority, which they do, to regulate affairs that have to do with the environment in the country at this moment. But they have also proposed restructuring, which is essentially going to hand over resources to communities that host them. So if you hand over these, do you not think that this is a contradiction? If you hand over resources to people who own them, which would essentially probably be another governor from another party or another council chairman, how do you hope them to, without a legal framework or a National Assembly backing, to still regulate the affairs that you have put under, another person's authority?
All right, responses now, and your closing respond to the questions. Most of the questions are related, so to speak.
Okay, let's start. Let's make it very brief. First, let me start with the last one. You can regulate the environment without controlling the oil. I'll give you an example of Uganda. If you go to Uganda, the government of Uganda does not license you to do oil. You go to Uganda, you go to Bayoro, you go to the communities. But environmental standards are national. So same way government can regulate that you should not beat your wife. The government doesn't have to be the husband of your wife. Government has power to regulate anything. Important thing is that the law to regulate the environment is national, but you can still control your resources as you want. Same way government regulating your cars, they're not the owner of your car. So that's that. Second, the issue of whether we are going to stop oil production. No. Even agriculture can pollute the environment too, fertilizer and all sorts of things like that. What we are saying is that where oil has been exploited in Nigeria and has destroyed the environment is not the only way to do it. And I have followed oil companies all over the world. And I know that environmental management is very important. If you follow an oil company to Netherlands or to Scotland, any of them, they might reduce profitability. They might increase money for remediation for the environment. If there's a rig that tends to malfunction and cause spills, they may bring it away from those countries with better regulation and bring it here to work. Things like that. So those are the things we need to do. Is because our people here are not a government, so to say. They don't care about their people. So you give them even inspectorates. They will go to the oil company and collect money, and they will not expect anything. So those are the things that our government will improve upon. That's basically what we are saying. Now, with respect to Nigerian passport being valued in the world, it used to be valued before, and it will be valued again. What you know to know about the world is that even though you say they are our friends, everybody is looking after themselves internationally. Therefore, if your citizens are desirable, people will look for them. In my own life, I carry Nigerian passport. I've lived in the US for 10 times more time to get the passport. I refuse to get it. I think the whatever other country is on as well. But in any country I went to as a Nigerian, including the US, the ambassador of that country comes, sends somebody to come collect my passport and put the visa. I don't want to kill there. Otherwise, I don't go there. Which means that we must make our people valuable. Yes. I have 3 members of my family today who are living to Europe today. They didn't beg for it because they are medical officers. And those countries are looking for medical officers. They come and take them. So what you need to do in Nigeria is to make sure that our people are happy at home and they are not desperate to go out. So when they are not desperate to go out, people outside will value them. What is happening now is that our people are running anywhere, to go there. Secondly, if you are coming to Nigeria to prospect for something, we too will put condition that the way our citizens, your citizens are coming here, same way your citizens must allow us to go on tourism and everything. But the most important thing for a country is that the country should be suspicious if its citizens are leaving. I, as president, if Nigerians are traveling abroad too much, I want to know why. Don't you have tourism at home? Don't you have jobs at home? Don't you have hospitals at home? So those are the reasons. People travel for a reason. President Buhari, for example, he traveled to go and see his doctor overseas. So I know that's why he's traveling. Some are going to see their master in Chatham House. That's why they are traveling. Some are traveling to go and keep their money abroad, like the PDP candidates travel to Dubai. If there's fire in Adamawa and there's fire in Dubai, we'll go and catch the fire in Dubai because his property is in Dubai. So those are the reasons. And then the young people are leaving because they think there's no government at home. So my colleague will answer the rest because there's no time. We need to make our citizens valuable and our passport valuable.
All right. NMPP, President.
Thank you very much. Let me also follow up from what you have just said on the issue of how Nigerian citizens are being treated abroad. I think there are 2 parts to it. One is from the government side, and the second one is from the citizen side. First, NMPP has a foreign policy, and one of the cornerstones of the foreign policy is to defend Nigeria, the integrity of our country, and also the prestige and life of every citizen of Nigeria, wherever he or she is. It's not like before we allow our citizens to be harassed, intimidated, humiliated, and even killed, and nothing will happen. Under NMPP, we'll make sure that we take all the necessary steps because we know citizens of other countries, when they come to Nigeria, if anything happens to them, their countries come and follow the cases here, pursue the cases. But we in Nigeria will take lives just as if it is nothing. Therefore, NMPP government will make sure that nobody touches Nigerian life and just goes free. It has been happening all over, even in Africa. Nigerians are treated and maltreated. NMPP is not going to allow that. But the second thing about the citizens is that, let me give a parable. A young man who comes out to abuse his father, abuse his mother, and tell all the secret of the family to the neighbors, to his friends and associates. What is the perception of the neighbors and his associates about his mother and father? Is that whatever he says, that's the impression they have about the father and mother. We in Nigeria, we are very loud. We are very loud. That is why I believe we are sophisticated. But in doing that, sometimes we hurt ourselves. If we spend the whole day criticizing and condemning ourselves, there are certain areas we must condemn. That's why we even left all these parties. I feel sometimes very surprised that they still associated with PDP. We had opportunity to say with PDP already 2 years ago. We left them because we know they are going to implode, they are going to collapse, they cannot give Nigeria. So you cannot associate them with us with PDP. So what we are saying now, but there are certain things that we as citizens of the country must do to protect our own integrity. But we don't do it, either here in Nigeria or outside the country. And therefore, the image you present yourself in the outside world is the image like you're already a criminal or potential criminal. And I think this is what is also affecting us outside Nigeria. Therefore, there must be a change, and we are going to do a lot of work in NMPP to do a lot of reorientation and reorganization and remobilization of Nigeria will now defend their country. Because one thing everybody agrees that Nigeria, a nation about Nigeria, you don't know how Nigeria feel about a country. For example, when they are playing football, you see everybody forgets about everything. It's now about Nigeria now. After football, now we are Hausa, we are Fulani, we are Igbo, we are Yoruba. So it means that this Nigerianness must be protected.
Thank you.
No, it's very important issue of agriculture and oil. Scholars have written extensively that many countries have been trying to use oil to get out of oil, which means when you get the oil resource as an oil exchange earner, you use it to develop other sectors of the economy. But in Nigeria, unfortunately, what happened is that, what's happening is that it's a source of oil, foreign exchange earning, but agriculture is it contributes more to GDP, more to employment, more to even the raw material for industries, and even to food. But we take it for granted. Therefore, I think what is going to be done is that it's very important that while you will continue managing the oil sector, other sector of the national economy must be also expanded and grown very quickly, so that a short while you will not become oil dependent as we are now. So that while the price of oil change, now we are forcing change. Now, as we are talking, we have, from our research, we are producing less than 50% of the share of our own water from the OPEC. So most of the remaining part is being also stored in the oceans there. So NMPP is going to bring discipline, law and order, so that everybody will be accountable to what happened at that particular place. Thank you very much.
ADC, please, presidential flag bearer.
I understand this is the closing argument. Okay. Since this is my last statement, once again, my dear students, thank you very much. Distinguished academia, thank you for hosting us here, and my wonderful moderators, thank you for having done a good job. Students, I want to ask you a question. When you applied to this school, how many of you knew who the Vice Chancellor was? Did anybody know the name of Vice Chancellor?
Yes.
When you applied, did you know who the Vice Chancellor was?
Yes. So you applied to this? Yes.
You knew? How many knew? Raise your hand if you knew. Okay, good. How many knew the religion of the Vice Chancellor, if it was Muslim or Christian?
No. It's by the name, by the name.
So the reality is that when you apply to this school, you apply to come to University of Abuja because there are things you saw in this school that school that you believe will add for me, guiding our country again. So we interrogate nothing, just like when they said we created doctors, we employed doctors, we sent people to school, nurses and everything. And nobody will ask how many hospitals do we have in Kano State? How many airlines do we have in Kano State? How many good roads do we have in Kano State? We will not interrogate those things, but taking a hook, line and sinker. Today, the election has been all but won. Please let me just finish this. They have told you we are going to go from consumption to production. Nigerians never asked, produce what, when, and when. We bought another lullaby. We've continued to buy the stories they have sold to us. In a few weeks, we'll be back to where we possibly were 8 years ago. The same thing. You have an opportunity now. Question all you have heard. Don't let anybody tell you that if you vote for new ideas, fresh people, that you are wasting your vote. Let me tell you what democracy implies. Democracy implies that you should vote for who you believe can do the job, not who can win. It's not about who can win, it's who can do the job. That's what you must do when you go into the next election. Don't let anybody deceive you. Don't let them further divide Nigeria. Don't let them burn Nigeria. You guys do what is right for Nigeria, because Nigeria must work for everyone.
Thank you. Your vote counts. Thank you. Sorry, please. Thank you very much, organizers, the moderators, and the great Nigerian students seated here with us today. I wanted to make a quick clarification that 8 years ago, President Buhari did not attend any town hall meetings. He did not make any promises because he knew that he had nothing to offer. And 8 years ago, as my brother said here, they used to call him Megaskia. This was how he framed his character as a truthful person. We're about to go into the end of his tenure, and he has become Munafiki, Baza, because he deceived everybody, including the people who believed in him. We are again at this junction in history where we must rise or die. And they are showing their true colors now. 20 days or 17 days into this election, you have no money, you have no fuel, you have no hope that you can even vote. They know what they are doing. And I am probably the only person here on this, our podium here, on this seat, who has gone to detention more than 12 times. I'm the only one here who once ran a student union government. And when one of our candidates and his supporters called me SUG president, I'm happy about it. Because for you to become a student union leader in my time, you have to know what you are doing.
Of course.
In fact, the student union leader in my time would have run Nigeria better than Buhari is running it today. And I'm sure most of you would have run this country better than they are running Nigeria today, even though you are young. So don't be ashamed that you are about to take the most important role in your life. And it starts with this election. Let me tell you, none of these adults that we travel with wants to hand over power to anybody. Even if Professor Akali becomes 90-year-old tomorrow, he will still be here saying that they have something to offer you. He's a great guy, no doubt.
intelligent, but they have done their best. Their best is just not good enough anymore. And I encourage him to please call an elders meeting. Let all the elders apologize and leave the political space for us. I have almost said something whenever I go to these debates, that in 1992, I was contesting as president of the University of Lagos Students Union. 1992, Atiku was contesting as SDP, his party. He was a presidential candidate.
Yes, but
2023.
He's still contesting.
He was an aspirant.
He's still running.
He's still running. He's still dragging position.
He's still running.
Welcome to their house to run our. If we want to make our mistakes, let's make it and deal with it. They should just quit the stage.
Yes.
Ideas.
Oh yes.
All right. The kind of ideas that have put Nigeria where it is today. And I want to say one last thing to young people. And this is to support what Professor Prince Adewale has said. Don't come and tell me after the 25th and you make your mistakes that you had no opportunity to have chosen a better candidate in this election. Because we have presented you, even in this small room here, we have presented you with the young people with the brightest ideas in the country. And I want to say one last thing. Informing our government, as soon as we win, President Adewale is going to be our Attorney General.
All right, thank you very much.
Fantastic way.
Thank
No position for you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah. Okay, we are